Hi, I'm Aubrey Adams, and I'm here with Dr. Christine Miller, who's a neuroscientist, and she's going to explain to us that we don't necessarily need to consume marijuana for our endocannabinoid system and how that system was named.
Yes, I think this is a great misconception that even physicians and scientists, some of them don't understand, and that is really phytocannabinoids were discovered before our endogenous system was discovered. And they got the name cannabinoids because they belong to a particular family of chemicals that resemble each other in a certain way, and that term was designated for that group of chemicals. And for us, what happened for humans is that the chemicals that bind to the receptor that THC and cannabidiol bind to,
Which is in marijuana.
which is in marijuana, are a class, well, the actual specific names are anandamide, and then there's another one that's a little too long to pronounce and get into, but there are a family of chemicals that we have that bind to these receptors. And the important thing to understand is they got named endocannabinoids because they bound to these couple of receptors that THC and cannabidiol bind to. And that's not uncommon. I mean, we have any drug that interacts with our system binds to something. If it doesn't, if it doesn't interact with an enzyme, if it doesn't interact with a receptor or some sort of transporter, then it has no effect. It's not a drug. It's not a vitamin. It does nothing. It just passes through our system, and maybe it's metabolized by the liver, and that's the end of it. But the fact that they named anandamide an endocannabinoid was purely by accident because phytocannabinoids were discovered first. Now, in the case of something like cocaine, for example, we knew about the endogenous chemical, dopamine, which binds to the transporter that cocaine binds to. We knew about dopamine before we knew about cocaine. So we do not call dopamine the cocaine transporter binding, chemical. And as a result, it's understood that cocaine is this exogenous substance, what we call it xenobiotic, because it's foreign to our body. And just as cocaine is foreign to our body, THC and cannabidiol are xenobiotic. They are foreign to our body. And so this accident of nomenclature, as I call it, has led to a great misunderstanding, and unfortunately marijuana proponents take advantage of it and have really misled people.
So when the marijuana proponents say you need to consume or smoke THC or CBD because we make that is not true. We make our own endocannabinoids, our anandamine, and that's the big misconception.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and the truth of the matter is what the exocannabinoids do, which THC and cannabidiol are, is they hijack our system. So just like cocaine hijacks the dopamine regulation system and the norepinephrine regulation system, they, THC and cannabidiol really interfere with the natural processing of chemicals that are in our body that overlap with some of the receptors that they bind to. Now, I want to point out that anandamide binds to some different receptors that THC and cannabidiol don't bind to, and similarly, THC and cannabidiol bind to receptors that anandamide doesn't bind to. So this is part of the complex mush, really, of pharmacology. It's nothing that's discrete. It's nothing that's definitive. And so what you're looking at is an accident of naming.
Wow. Wow. So that's so interesting. So I hear you saying the THC hijacks the reward system of the brain, which can cause addiction. and mental illness too, unfortunately, just like other drugs.
Yes, although the way in which it causes mental illness is not clear.
Okay.
What is much more clear is why it leads to addiction, because like other drugs of abuse, it depletes the dopamine reward system of the brain, and it does so because, like other drugs of abuse, it stimulates dopamine release, which is the reward neurochemical. And by overstimulating anything, I mean, this is pretty easy to understand, you exhaust that system. And in so doing, you create a system where the brain needs ever more powerful things or different substances to bind to something else that will, get the dopamine revved up again. And this is what can lead to serial addiction. So first it may be marijuana, and then it's going to be something else because marijuana is not working for them anymore. It's not hard to understand, really. It's pretty straightforward.
Absolutely, and thank you for explaining that we don't need to consume marijuana to be healthy. It's a false narrative that the marijuana proponents have claimed.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much.
You're welcome.